We are live.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series for 2014 from the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, better known as Interlagos. Qualifying saw a 3ID Motorsports lockout as Hugo Luis and Martin Cronkey line up on the front row of the grid. They'll be joined in third place by Mo Garfilo from the Radical Steel Series team, and then Enzo Benito in the Team Redline car will be starting in the fourth position. The big story of the day, however, is Gregor Hutu. His worst qualifying since Canada last year, only 6th place on the grid. Will Vinson, along with Aaron Likens here on RaceBot TV and iRacing Live. And Aaron, what a performance by the guys over at 3ID Motorsports by getting first and second place on the grid.
Yeah, of all the tracks that starting first means the most this track. What a job they did. The track very difficult to pass, and the gap between first and second less than 0.2 of a second, so very close on the front row. And Gregor Hutu, you say 6th place, the margin though was only about 13 hundredths, so wow, when you say hundreds matter here, Gregor Hutu at this track is going to have his work cut out for him, but great job by the front row.
Great job indeed, and a couple of drivers who struggled in qualifying are mainly, you have to talk about Alexei Usiakola. He lost 4 tenths of a second coming out of Yonkau on each of his 3 qualifying laps, and that is why he is so far down the grid. He is qualified well down the field in the 25th position for this race. But you've got to say there's some good performances by the rookie fields as well. Oli Picard and Enzo Benito, 5th and 4th place respectively, leading that way. We're going to see a great battle throughout this, and we are less than 2 minutes until the green flag drops, Aaron.
Yeah, less than 2 minutes, and with 1 minute 10-second lap times in qualifying, going to be a tad bit slower in the race, but this track's going to get very crowded. Starting position, oh so critical here, and if you are in the middle of the pack, you might think about pulling off a different strategy. Pit strategy here means so important. So, you know, if you did get a bad qualifying run, maybe you can try to go off sequence, try to get position that way, but track position vital here. Getting spots on the track can be difficult here at Interlagos.
Let's run through your starting grid then, and it is Hugo Luis who qualifies on pole position, qualifying time of 1 minute 10.599. Martin Cronkey lines up alongside him in row number 1 with Mo Garfilo and Enzo Benito on the second row of the grid. Oli Picard and Gregor Hutu share the third row of the grid with Andre Borcha and Yuda Narumi in row number 4. Row 5, Martin Patila and Yorni Tamana. Row 6, Stephen Michaels and Yuhu Abe. In row number 7 is Alex Simpson and Isaac Price. Row number 8 is Tommy Nielsen and Kazuki Omishima. Row number 9, Jake Sturgis and Ruku Anataulo. Row number 10, Jason Lover and Robin Friscops. In total, 35 drivers have made the trip here to Interlagos. Track temperature is 80 degrees Fahrenheit with an easterly wind of 2 miles an hour, and relative humidity is 44%. We're going to go racing today for a total of 71 laps here on iRacing Live for the second round of the 2014 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. And don't forget, for more information about the World Championship Series, head over to wcs.iracing.com. Drivers are lined up on the grid, less than 20 seconds to go before we let them rip for 71 laps around this 15-turn, 2.68 mile racetrack. Can Hugo Luis bounce back after what was an amazing race at Spa 2 weeks ago to claim his first victory of the season? Can Martin Cronkey potentially get victory? We are underway in the WCS for round number 2 as they all come down into the first corner for the first time. Will Cronkey go down to the inside? The answer's going to be yes, he will. Hugo Luis will be on the outside. He retakes the race lead, but Martin Cronkey right up behind him. Philo falls into 4th. Hutu already up into the 4th position. Picard in 5th. Benito in the 6th position. We have a contact down in turn number 1, but they are 4 wide as they come down into turn 4 for the first time. And Martin Cronkey tried to make the move there on Hugo Luis, Aaron, but wasn't quite close enough.
Not close enough. He almost had it. That's the thing about this left-right combo at the start. You can get to the inside for turn 1, but in turn 2, you're put on the outside. But great run, just wasn't great enough. He's now slotted into second. So long race. Let's see if he has anything for him.
I say there is a bit of attrition. We'll run through that in a moment because they're currently 3 wide in the mid part of the pack as well, with Bjorn Jens, you, Abe and Simon Cattell running 3 wide through turn number 8. That is not the sort of thing you want to do. They are still 2 abreast as they come through turn number 10 on the racetrack. Very close racing, but out front it is Hugo Louise leading the way. Cronke in the 2nd position, Hutu already up into the 3rd position, Mo Garfilo down into the 4th position, Enzo Benito and Oli Picaro, they are side by side as they come down into turn number 1, and Benito almost spins it there, somehow keeps it going on the racetrack. He almost collected Mo Garfilo, but Benito there makes the pass on Oli Picaro. My God, that was close, Aaron, and Picaro comes back on the outside as they come down into turn number 4.
Wow, the start of this race has not disappointed as they're still side by side. Wow, this is incredible stuff for the start of this race. Meanwhile, we have Gregor Hutu up into 3rd place, so he's on the charge. Wow, what a lap and a half.
What a lap and a half indeed, and hopefully it will settle down at some point. Oli Picaro was able to make that pass back on Enzo Benito down into turn number 4, so move him but up into the 5th position for the time being. What a start though by Gregor Hutu. He started 6th on the grid, his worst qualifying since the last race of the season last year, one of his worst qualifyings overall in WCS history. However, he was able to gain 4 positions on that first lap. What a start by the number 1 Team Redline car.
And that is exactly what he needed to do. You need to get as far forward as you can, as soon as you can here. The start's the best time to do it, obviously, but this track passing is at an absolute premium, so he capitalized on the start, and now he has options. He has a lot of options. If he would have got 5th, 6th on the start, would have maybe taken 5, 10 laps to get around, but now he has clean track to catch up to 2nd place, so great start, and he's showing why he's been champion many times over.
A couple of drivers has moved up through the field. Jeremy Bootsloop started 29th, now running in the 23rd position on the racetrack. A couple of guys have also made some big passes since the start of this race. We'll run through that in a couple of moments' time. The field has settled down for the time being. To run through your top 10, it is Hugo Louise leading by a second almost over Martin Cronke. Gregor Hutu in the 3rd position is 1.5 seconds back from that 2nd 3ID Motorsports driver. Mo Garfilo in 4th, Oli Picaro in the 5th position, Enzo Benito in 6th, Andre Borgia in 7th, Martin Patilla in 8th, Yudan Arumi in 9th, and then Yoni Tamana rounds out your top 10 as Yoni Tamana spins it there on the run down into Yonkao, and he's going to drop himself 5 positions. And this is not normally an incident that we see.
And a little bit more contact there. Alatalo had a little bit of contact, so one mistake seemed to spawn another mistake there for Yoni. So not the way he wanted his race to go, and with Riku's speed on the straightaway, maybe a little bit of wing damage for Riku there, possibly.
And Alexei Usiakola gets past Alatalo. Let's not forget that Akola started well down the field in the 25th position. He's been able to work himself up into the 18th position on the racetrack. And meanwhile, ahead of them, you've got Sturgis and Lovett battling for position. Now, let's not forget that Jake Sturgis was able to take victory in the 2nd round of the iRacing.com NASCAR series powered by Peak Antifreeze. However, Sturgis was not able to get the job done there over Jason Lovett. Lovett is now up into the 15th position on the racetrack. And this mid-pack, once again, Aaron, really is fighting tooth and nail. About 2-3 car lengths between everyone from P9 all the way down to about P16 on the racetrack. And Tommy Nilsson able to get past Yuhu Abe on this lap.
Yeah, this type of racing is what you expect here. Passing can be very, very difficult, and well, with only a minute, 10 minute, 11 minute, 12-second lap times, this is a lot of cars and not a lot of racetracks, so it really is almost like a short track in terms of you're always going to be battling somebody, and with 71 laps in this race, this track can be very frustrating. If you may be faster than the 3-4 cars in front of you, but since they're battling for position, it's very hard to make a move because you have cars in front of you trying to make moves. So it can be very frustrating. So patience here can run out in a hurry.
So let's go back to talk about your lead cars, as Friscops was just trying to battle there for P13 on the racetrack with Isaac Price, but goes a little bit wide and wasn't able to get the job done. Out front, however, Hugo Luis has got a 1.2 second advantage over Martin Cronke, but Cronke was side by side with Luis coming down into that first corner of the race, and I've got a feeling that either Luis is on this short strategy in this race because he really is pulling away right now from Cronke and Hutu, or both of the 3ID Motorsports drivers might be on that alternate two-stop strategy, Aaron.
Yeah, quite possibly, and to do an alternate strategy, you really want to get away. The key thing will be is measuring when you do make your pit stop, where are you going to come out? If you do that alternate strategy, you want to be able to get in front of as many cars as possible, because if you make that pit stop and you get behind one of those long train of cars that we see mid-pack, well, that really can cost you seconds, and as we saw last week, margin of victory a half second. If you lose just 1 second here, that could be the race.
So down the field, we will talk about this battle going on for the rear part of the top 10 for just a moment's time, because you've got Enzo Benito, who has fallen away now from Oli Picard, who's running in that 5th position. But then also, you've got Andre Borcher closing up to the rear of Enzo Benito, Martin Patilla in the 8th position, Tommy Nilsson in 9th, and Yudan Arumi in the top 10. It does look as though we've got a degree of separation going on right now, because of the fact that Benito is slipping back, Borcher is closing up, Patilla is closing up, but then Tommy Nilsson in that 9th position really is falling off the rear of Martin Patilla right now. So I really do think, Aaron, we are in a very big two-strategy race, because you can tell by the drivers coming together, but then also some drivers really falling back on the early going.
Yeah, that's going to make this race really entertaining to watch on how this plays out, because what we see right now might not be what we get at the end. So going to be interesting to watch, see how it plays out, which strategy could be the winner. Right now, the front two cars are slowly pulling away, about 0.4 of a second faster. First and second are over Gregor Hutu in third, so Hutu losing about 0.4 a lap. So this is going to be fun to watch, Will.
And we're going to check in on the battle for 4th place momentarily, because Mogar Filo and Oli Picard are having a great battle right now for that 4th position on the racetrack. Now, of course, this is Mogar Filo's home event here, but he did almost make 2 moves there, so he will have to be careful in case the iRacing stewards do pick him up. But Oli Picard and Mogar Filo having a great battle, and also, after the disappointments for the Radical team at Spa last week, Mogar Filo is back with an absolute bang right now. And I've got a feeling he's just trying to hold up Picardo, because Picardo does look very fast in a straight line right now.
Yeah, it could be different strategies there, which if Mogar can hold him off, that's going to sort of defeat the strategy behind him. But you do have to be careful. You don't want to catch the eye of the stewards. And oftentimes what the race control will say is, don't put us in a position to have to make a call. So threading the line right now. Let's see what happens next time as they get the run down towards turn 4. That seems to be where Ollie is faster.
And they are coming down towards that run to turn 4 once again. It does look as though Picardo is a little bit closer, but not quite close enough to make a pass down into turn number 4. Nowhere near close enough. And you have to say as well that Hutu really is falling back now. He is 6 seconds behind Hugo Luis after a total of 7 laps scored complete in this race. A 10% race distance. Already that gap is 6 seconds on the racetrack. You've got to think, though, for Hutu, thinking like he was down in the pack, maybe that two-stop strategy he didn't think was going to work for him. Maybe he didn't think he was going to get into clean air. So, arguably, Hutu could start holding up the likes of Filo and Picardo and potentially Benito at some point soon as this fuel loads start going down, because Hutu really doesn't have much speed right now.
No, losing about 0.6 a second a lap. Currently about 5.6 seconds. We'll get a new time this time as he flashes by the line, but he is starting to slow up. Mogar, though, really isn't catching him that much that time. Another 0.7 of a second. So, yeah, well, I do think a heavier fuel load there, which I would have to agree. Starting 6th, he probably was not expecting to go from 6th to 3rd on the start.
2 cars out of the race so far. Alexia Loma out on the first lap of the race. Jorn Jens is also now classified as out of the race. And he had a moment down in Yonkau on lap number 7. Just got that car on the outside curb there. Got it onto the AstroTurf, spun that car around, slammed it into the guardrail that Kimi Räikkönen so tried to look for a couple of years ago, and he is now classified as out of the race. Meanwhile, P10, Yudo Rumi and Stephen Michaels battling side by side. You do not want to go side by side there. Narumi on the outside line now gets Isaac Price down to his inside, and contact there between those two drivers, and Alex Simpson's going to go past as well.
What intense racing here. This is an absolute scrap. Passes almost every corner, has 3 wide in there. That's not going to work. Oh, how'd they get through there?
I have no idea, but it does look as though that Narumi has got a little bit of damage right now, because Lovett's on the outside, coming down to Young Cal. Friskop's on the inside. Friskop's able to make the pass there and get it complete on Jason Lovett. And here comes Alexei Usiakola, Dracula, as he is famously known. Will he be able to make the move down into the CNRS? He's got 2 lots of draft there. You can see it's already helping him. He's going to go side by side with Jason Lovett down into the CNRS. Will he be able to make the slingshot? The answer is going to be yes, he will. Will he get both drivers? No, not quite close enough. And 3 wide into the CNRS there. And I believe there was a little bit of contact with Yorni Tamala and Jason Lovett. He's going to be out of the races. He makes contact with Alexei Usiakola, and Jason Lovett might be out of the race there with a little bit of damage, but they are still 3 wide almost. They come down into turn number 4. What racing is this?
Well, my word, this is just incredible stuff. I don't know how all these cars are still in the race, banging wheels, and wrecking behind them, Cattell and Lovett, which I think Lovett is now going to be out.
Yeah, and that all happened as it does seem to be that Cattell actually just came across on his teammate. Didn't realise he was there. Both those drivers going to be classified out of the race. The 2 INX drivers out there in one move down as they approach turn number 5 on the racetrack. And that was a bit of a weird one, because Cattell won ride in turn number 4, and you had Jason Lovett on the what was going to be the outside for the next corner. It does look as though that Cattell just came across his own teammate, Aaron.
You have to think that Simon had absolutely no idea that Lovett was there. He just turned over. You know, sometimes when you're racing and you make that one mistake, it's very easy to then make a second mistake, which that might have been happened there. He might have been so focused on just getting back into his groove that he just had no idea that Lovett was on his outside.
So add 2 INX drivers to the list of cars out of the race. And you've also got Hugh Abe going very slowly on the racetrack. He's now classified as 33rd position on the racetrack. Let's talk about P13 very quickly, because Narumi and Friskops, they are continuing their battle. And Narumi does look as though he has got a little bit of a push on his race car. There was some front wing damage to him, just a little bit there, with that contact a couple of laps ago. It does look as though he is holding up Robin Friskops in the INX racing car just a little bit right now.
Yeah, they've gone back and forth. Narumi made a good pass, but now it looks maybe different aero packages, because Friskops seems to be much faster in this middle section of the racetrack. We'll see if Narumi pulls out here or gets a little bit of gap as they now reach the main straight. But yeah, a lot of these drivers, well, with the wing damage, they're going to really be waiting for that first pit stop. And here we go. They're going to go side by side down into the first corner.
And it is going to be on the inside line. You're going to have Yudo Narumi keeping that position. However, Friskops will be able to get that back, potentially down into turn 4. And that is one of the beauties about this racetrack, Aaron, that if you don't make the pass work into turn 1, you can slot back in behind and then try and make that pass into the duckbill corner, turn number 4. That time, however, Robin Friskops wasn't quite close enough. And we've seen this before in WCS competition, that actually some drivers, rather than try and make the pass into turn 1, just try and stick behind and then make it into turn 4 instead, and almost surprise the driver ahead of them.
Yeah, and if you do complete that pass in the Senna S's, what can happen then is you're going to have slower straightaway speed, so you almost get a crossover effect where you give that driver behind a chance to counterattack. So if you make the pass in turn 4, you have a lot more real estate until the next real passing zone. So sometimes not making the pass there instead of turn 1 is the better option if you can pull it off. Also, if you attempt the pass in turn 1 and it fails and you have a car behind you, you then open yourself up instead of making a pass, being passed.
So then, with 12 laps of this race scored complete, let's settle it down just a moment. Alexei Loma, Yorn Yen, Tom Cattell, Jason Lovett are out of the race. We've got 2 of the running racing drivers, Yuhu Abe and Kuroshuki Omishima. They have scored well down the field right now in the 30th and 31st positions, respectively, on the racetrack. Out front, however, Hugo Louise is just flying away. His last lap at 1 minute 11.285 he's almost 3 tenths of a second faster than teammate Martin Kroenke. In fact, Kroenke just had a spin there down into turn 10. He caught a white line, and Kroenke had a huge moment there. Just caught it on my screen now, and very lucky that Gregor Hutu wasn't quite close enough. He saw the spinning Martin Kroenke, but that's a huge blow for Kroenke. He's built up a huge advantage over that number 1 Team Redline car.
Wow, that's uncharacteristic mistake there. You're right, just caught the line. Very lucky that car spun to the inside. It's so easy if you get on the grass there. The car can almost spear off driver's left right into the wall. So for Kroenke, very lucky to still be in the race. And, well, he did lose time on the leader, but still in second place. But, wow, he's going to have to settle down now, get back into focus, and not make that mistake again.
Let's get back to free-ride action with Robin Friskops once again. And I believe you had Yoni Tamano and Rico Alatalo involved in that as well. So huge free-ride passes coming down into the center S. And we've seen this so many times before. Arguably, the best move we ever saw into the center S was with Juan Pablo Montoya and Michael Schumacher back in 2001. But these guys really are attacking turn number 1. And there's a number of reasons for this, Aaron. You've got a high track temperature, 80 degrees. We talked about this in our WCS Spotlight show earlier on. You've also got a high relative humidity, and that means that the draft effect is a lot more profound than what you normally get at this racetrack.
And we have been seeing that where cars have made passes and look like they are going to pull away, but as soon as they hit the main straightaway, that car behind is attacking again. And I think attacking is about the best word to describe the racing we have seen so far. There has been no, let's just cruise, let's just settle. This has been get every position, every inch you can at any moment in time. This has just been intense stuff in the middle of the pack.
What that spin did for Martin Kroenke is it put Gregor Hutu within about 2 seconds of him. In fact, it's about 3 seconds on the racetrack right now. But Hugo Louise is up to a 7.1 second advantage over Martin Kroenke. Now, I was saying before Kroenke spun that Louise's fastest lap was a 1 minute 11.285. For Martin Kroenke, it was a 1:11.7 at that time. He's just done a 1:11.3. But Louise really is driving away in this race. And if you are going to do a 2-stop strategy, you'll likely do it about lap 25 in this race. And he's about halfway, just over halfway through that first stint. But for a driver who's been ill this week, and we've talked about it a little bit earlier on, Hugo Louise has been ill this week. He's really been struggling, vomiting all over the place, and to come in to drive one of the most physical racetracks on the schedule by leading by so much, you gotta say, the number 3 car for 3ID Motorsports really has brought his A-game today.
Yeah, driving ill, never, ever fun. Even if it slows down your reflexes just 1%. For this to be the best in the series, you have to be at 110% all the time. So to be driving ill and be leading, driving away at the moment, 7 seconds first to second, 10 seconds back to third. Impressive job, but if you are ill, it's not going to be in the start of the race that it's going to affect you. It's going to be in the latter third. So a lot of work left to do. 56 laps to go. So for Hugo Louise, the real test will be the second half of the race.
Rear end of the top 10, you've got Andre Borgia and Martin Patilla. They are within about a second of each other on the racetrack. The two are teammates for 3ID Motorsports, just hanging Linus Turn right now in 7th and 8th positions. Behind them, it has kind of settled down a little bit right now. You have got Alex Simpson and Isaac Price. They're running in 11th and 12th positions respectively. They're within 1 second on the racetrack. I think our best battle right now is with Yorni Tamala and Riku Alatalo. Alatalo for the 15th position, Yorni Tamala in the 14th position. And Alatalo, after running a part-time schedule in many ways this year, really does want to get some good results under his belt in that Glacier Racing car.
Yeah, very competent driver. He's going to want to start stringing together good finishes early in the race. Wow, he was in the midst of almost every single battle, intense battle that we saw. I'm glad, I think he's glad that this has settled down just a little bit and we're not seeing the 3 and even 4 wide that we were seeing earlier. But long race for Riku, and see if he can pick up some more positions with Yoni currently in front of him.
We might have seen it on our screens down into turn number 1. Mogar Filo and Oli Picard finally able to get past that Radicals machine of Mogar Philo, and that moves Picard up into the 4th position on the racetrack, and Mogar Philo down into the 5th position. A textbook pass once again down into the center S. A lot of good overtaking there, and already Picard has been able to build up about a 1 second advantage over Philo in just the space of 1 lap, Aaron. And it does show that Picard potentially was on a lower fuel load, and what that really has done is hurt his charge, potentially getting a podium now, because of the fact that he spent a total of 17 laps behind Philo.
And that's the aggravating thing about this racetrack. Passing is such a premium, and you really cannot spend that time. That's why we were seeing so much aggressive driving earlier, because those drivers that are on the alternate strategy, they need to get around everybody as quick as possible. The gap continues to increase. So for Ali Picala, you know, he's really, I bet he's wishing he would have got around sooner. And look at, he is really pulling up on Gregor Hutu momentarily. So it won't be long before Ali Picala is going to be threatening to get into that 3rd position.
Yeah, and to give you an update on the times of the laps he was doing 1 minute 11.9, 1 minute 11.7. As soon as he got into clean air, he was immediately 2 tenths of a second faster. For Mogar Philo, as soon as he got behind, it does seem to be he lost 2 seconds in that dirty air immediately. And for some of these cars, you know, if they're running in clean air, they just handle so much better, especially if you've got more fuel on board than if you are running in dirty air. And now Philo, he gets himself back into some clean air. He sets his fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 11.703 for him. So you've got to argue that really that Radicals car isn't working very well in dirty air. That could come back to haunt him a little bit later on in this race.
Yes, most certainly will, most certainly. As the strategies play out and we get to the latter third, when we know what everybody's strategy is on, if he is in a 3-4-way battle for a position and he's in that middle section of that battle, it's going to be hard for him to, he may have the faster car in a straight line, but if he cannot get off the corner, it's all for naught. He's going to have the downforce to get out of the corner to get the power down. So right now for Mogar, he's probably going to want to, through strategy, get clean air and get in front of the people through the pit stops.
Jeremy Boutaloup's been able to get himself past Jake Sturgios in the battle for the 17th position on the racetrack, and it was a pass on the outside as they came down into turn number 4. Sturgios on the inside, Boutaloup on the outside. Boutaloup just swung around Jake Sturgios and moves himself up 1 position on the racetrack in the 2nd of the Radicals car. So Boutaloup on the charge right now. His next victim will be Yudan Rumi in that number 14 running racing car. Out front, Hugo Luiz in that number 3 3rd Motorsports car. His fast lap at 1 minute 11.099. He's really pulling away right now. That gap is up to 7 seconds over Martin Kroenke. Kroenke's been able to once again pull out that advantage over Hutu to 5 seconds after he had that spin about 8 laps ago on the racetrack. The big battle is going to be though between Gregor Hutu and Oli Picard, because last time by Picard was a total of 3 tenths of a second faster on the racetrack in comparison to that number 1 car of Gregor Hutu.
And that being so, when Picala gets there, he is going to not waste much time. He has to build as much time as possible. So if Picala can't get to him, he's going to have to make it as fast as possible.
And let's see what the gap is as they come up the hill, sweeping left towards the start-finish line once again. I think he's just outside of draft range this time by. The gap as they came past the stripe last time was about 1 second on the racetrack. It is exactly 1 second on the racetrack right now. It was a 1:11.389 for Picard, a 1:11.423 there for Gregor Hutu. So just 1 second separating these two drivers. However, that dirty air will come into effect here, Aaron. And in many ways, very similar to Spa, you always break this track down into 3 sectors. Sector 1, Sector 3, it's all about raw speed and brute power. But then that second sector, just like Spa, you need to have a lot of mechanical and a lot of aero grip. From here, that very fast sweeping right-hander, and then this tricky infield section, that dirty air really can play havoc with drivers.
Oh yes, the first right-hander and followed into the next right-hander that we're going into right now. If you don't get that grip, the nose is going to want to push off the racetrack, and then you can't get the power down, and the car in front of you just pulls away, and it's going to be so aggravating for the driver to know you may have the faster car, but you can gain the 2/10 in sectors 1 and 3, but if you lose 4/10 in that middle sector due to the dirty air, it's a net gain of nothing, which right now that seems to be where Ollie has fallen into. He gains here and the rundown towards the middle sector, but then he just seems to lose it in the middle section. That last time he did gain 3/10 overall, but it seems when he gets just this close, the next time he seems to lose that much again.
And he's not quite close enough, in fact he's nowhere near close enough to make a move down into turn number 4 on the racetrack. This is by far our best battle in the top 10 right now. However, Andre Borgia and Enzo Benito, they are battling for P6 on the racetrack right now, and the gap between those drivers is again 1 second on the racetrack. And to come back to what we were saying earlier between these split strategies, Aaron, that you do have the guys who started with heavier fuel loads and the guys with lighter fuel loads, but right now in that stage of the race, that difference isn't as profound as when the lights went out at the start of this race. So therefore, it will be more difficult to make your way past drivers. The guys on the lighter fuel loads, however, they're going to have to be careful in that second stint, because rather than being the guys trying to make passes, they're going to be the ones trying to play that proverbial defense for the middle stage of this race, as Picard is a lot closer this time by.
Yeah, call him much closer. Maybe able to make, if he doesn't try to pop out here, maybe down into turn 4, he is going to be close enough. This is going to be maybe able to do it, but you're right. It's going to be a sort of a role reversal, where at the start they were used to being able to just almost be Superman, and here comes Picard. Is he going to look to the inside? Here he goes, Will.
Here he comes down to the inside, turn number 4, Picard goes down, and he will take that 3rd position away from Gregor Hutu. So Picard, who made a statement at Spa 2 weeks ago, passes that red line number 1 car of Gregor Hutu. We have to suffix that by saying, however, that Hutu, we believe, is on the heavier fuel load. He qualified for this race in the 6th position. You arguably do not want to do a split 2-stop strategy with a starting position outside the top 5, so potentially Hutu could be on a 1-stopper, but still a great pass there by Picard. He did exactly what I said about 10 laps ago, Aaron. You know, you don't make the pass into turn 1, set them up, make it into turn 4, picture perfect.
Picture perfect, and I also think Hutu, if Hutu is on that other strategy, he gains nothing right there by trying to battle, maybe trying to defend his line just a little bit. The only thing he's going to do is slow himself down, and right now for Hutu, he just wants to log as many fast laps as he can, and if he is in the midst of a fierce battle defending, he's just going to lose time. So great pass by Ollie. At the same time, there's no reason to get into a battle where you're both slowing down, so Hutu, I think, there was more than happy to concede the line and let Ollie go.
Okay, lap number 24 for Hugo Luis. His last lap was a 1 minute 10.825. You want to know where that would put him on the grid? That would have been P number 9, just ahead of Martin Patila. So a great run right now by Luis, but it does say that he is starting to run on fumes. We expect him to be within the next 2 to 3 laps, Aaron.
Yep, and it's going to be critical where he slots out. He's going to want to have as much clean track in front of him where he might not necessarily be slowed down. So no pit stop this time, but next couple laps I am expecting him to come in. But right now he's going to want to put down, oh, what a fantastic lap time, Will, a 110.6. So even faster that time. That time would have put him P4 on the grid. So he is absolutely flying, and this is what he needs to do. He is essentially in a qualifying session right now, needing to build as big of a gap as possible.
And for him to take victory, he might have to do something similar to Michael Schumacher back at the 1998 Hungarian Grand Prix. That middle stint, you've just got to set qualifying lap after qualifying lap after qualifying lap, and he is doing all he needs right now. He has got some lap traffic ahead of him. Jonas Mercurium in the number 38 Radicals machine is about 2 to 3 seconds ahead of him on the racetrack, and that might play into the mind of Luis just a little bit. The last thing you want to do, Aaron, is catch traffic in this infield, because yes, whilst blue flags are in operation in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, you really do not want to catch a car at the slowest point of the racetrack.
And with this alternate strategies, 1/2 of a second could be the difference between getting in and out. And here comes, does he come in this time? Yes, he does. Which, with the lap car in front of him, if he had one extra lap, I would pit this lap. You don't want to slow up 2/3 because of that lap car.
Cronke is onto pit road as well, so your top 2 drivers are on pit road. Wilmo Garfido also pit from the 3rd position on the racetrack. The answer we will find out in just a moment's time. But right now, Hugo Luis, he's got 4 fresh tyres, he's topping up the race fuel, and he will be out and away. And slightly long pit stop for him, but he does come out ahead of Martin Clonke, who is still in his box. Mo Garfido is classified as your race leader right now in the number 10 Radicals machine. So, 2 leaders in this race so far, both of them hometown heroes, Aaron.
Yeah, both hometown heroes, and for Hugo Luis, he came out in an absolute pack of cars, not what he wanted, as they are going to get around 1 car of Alexei. So for Hugo Luis right now, he can't waste time, but it's role reversal now. He now has a heavier fuel load, so instead of being the driver that can go through cars, he's now going to have to play defense as a whole host of cars behind him and in front of him.
And there's been a huge issue for Gregor Hutu. He has fallen well down the timing stands. He is classified as 1 lap down. We'll have to figure out what's happened to that. We'll talk to the iRacing stewards and figure out what's happened with that. But Gregor Hutu is classified right now as being 1 lap down in this race. As the cars come past the start-finish line, here's Philo onto pit road. He does lead a lap, but he's going to give that race lead away as Mo Garfido in the number 10 car is onto pit road, Aaron.
He is onto pit road, and yeah, we were expecting him to have a lighter fuel load, so gets into his box perfectly, and let's see where he's going to slide out. He too is going to want to come out in clean air, clean track, and let's see where he comes out. He's off and away.
He is off and away, and there's no real cars around him. Rico Anatolo will not be close enough, and that is really what Mo Garfido wanted. To give you an update on Hugo Luis, he has got a little bit of traffic ahead of him. Enzo Benito, who is currently scored as your race leader, but arguably for Hugo Luis, that's not a bad position at all, because now Benito is going to be running faster, because he's got less fuel in his number 17 red line machine, and he's also got Andre Borcher, his teammate, behind him. So for Luis, he's in a great position right now in P2 in this race. However, he has still got to bear in mind Enzo Benito in that 17 car, especially if he goes deep into this race.
Yeah, for Hugo Luis right now, if they are in separate strategies, Enzo Benito right now is in a good position. He comes across the line and he will be classified as our race leader, so that's going to be a lap led for Enzo Benito. Hugo Luis, though, right there, and Marty Patella right behind second and third, so yeah, this is going to get good at the end with these different strategies.
It will do indeed, and Enzo Benito does have a 1.5 second advantage right now over Hugo Luis. And to give you an update on the lap times, last time Benito did a 1:11.4, Hugo Luis a 1:11.9. So actually, Benito isn't holding up Luis in any way, shape or form. You've got to say, arguably, the driver who's losing out the most here is Andre Borcher in that number 9 car, because he, before pit stops, was doing lap times of 1:11.2. Now he's stuck behind his teammate. He can't do laps inside 1:11 at all. So perhaps Andre Borchi is going to want to get past his teammate on this run down to turn number 1 the next time, because he's been all over Hugo Luis in this midfield section. Let's see what happens as they come out of Young Cow.
Last thing you want to do is make contact with your teammate, but at the same time, with the alternate strategies, he needs to push. He needs to get around him. He needs to build up those seconds. Different strategies, he needs to get around. He's going to have a run. He's going to look to the inside, and I think he's going to have it. Hugo's going to let him go, and Marty Patel is going to get around as well. So for Hugo Luis, different strategies. Again, nothing really to gain by fighting too hard and losing a second and a half lap trying to defend. But at the same time now, Tommy Nielsen's going to be fighting there, so he's going to want to get around Hugo Luis. So role reversals here.
Exactly what we said is Tommy Nielsen almost ran into the rear of Hugo Luis down into turn number 4 that time by. And for Borgia and Patila, in many ways, Luis actually would have gained a little bit there with the huge draft down out of the Curve de Sol, turn number 3, down into turn 4, the Duckbill corner. And that actually might negate any advantage of running the outside line down into the center S. And you can see, you've got 3ID Motorsports drivers running in 3rd, 4th and 5th position right now. Luis, of course, has made a pit stop. The other drivers have not. Marcus Caton is on pit road right now. He is out and away. He came in the 17th position. He will drop just towards the end of the lead lap right now. But right now, you've got a couple of drivers who's had some big issues. Oli Picard has had some issues, as well as Gregor Hutic. Just trying to figure out what's actually happened to Oli Picard. And he, again, he's also classified now as 1 lap down in this race. Enzo Benito continues to lead, however, and last time by a 1 minute 11.5 for Enzo Benito. We did see Benito have a good run at Spa in this middle stage of the race, so we cannot discount the Italian in his second run in that Team Redline car.
No, you can't. Great run so far. Very good run. He is, that last lap, 0.2 of a second faster than second, which you got to suspect both of them are obviously going to be on the same strategy. So it's 2.8 seconds first to second at the moment and 3.4 seconds first to third. And depending on how the strategies work out, if the one-step strategy is the way to go, then this could be the battle for the win, as Hugo Luis is sitting in fourth and losing time, but of course he has heavier fuel at the moment.
Luis is back onto pit road. I take that back, that potentially might not be. No, Luis is not back onto pit road, so I take that one back completely. And to run through your top 10, Enzo Benito leads, Andre Borcher in second, Martin Tiller in third, Hugo Luis in fourth, Tommy Nilsson is in the fifth position, but Tommy Nilsson comes onto pit road. Martin Kroenke will move up into fifth, then it'll be Isaac Price, and he is going side by side right now with Alexi Usiakola. And I think actually we saw another car coming to pit road. Indeed, it was Isaac Price. For the one-stop drivers, that window is open because we're at half race distance right now.
Yep, so this is where, for these drivers now making the one-stop strategy, this is when they are going to have to come out, and even though they have a heavier fuel load, they are going to have to put down qualifying quality laps. They're going to have to lap as fast as they can, because as the fuel burns off now, we are going to have Hugo Luis starting to speed up. So yet again, roles reversed.
Indeed, and we'll have to see whether Enzo Benito does come onto pit road this time by with 31 laps scored complete. Say Tommy Nilsson and Isaac Price both came down pit road that last time by, as we're now into the second half of the second round of the 2014 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series here on RaceBot TV and iRacing Live, as here comes Enzo Benito onto pit road. 45 miles an hour for him, and let's see whether Andre Borcher also comes onto pit road. The answer is no. Borcher, Patila, they do another lap. So Enzo Benito now is the one. 45 miles an hour, Aaron, 4 fresh tyres, and topping up with race gas for him.
And once again, he is going to want to come out with as much clean air as possible. He is not going to want to come out into a pack. The field is much separated than we were earlier, and here comes Benito out of the pits. 2 cars coming through turns 1 and 2, so does he get out in front of him? Yes, he will.
It's going to be mighty close, but Enzo Benito running very, very wide in that white line there, coming out of pit road. Almost similar to what happened to David Coulthard coming onto pit road and the 1995 Australian Grand Prix. Almost happened coming out of pit road to Enzo Benito, but importantly, he comes ahead of Yorni Tamala and Mo Garfilo, so he will move into a net second place in this race overall. We have got to keep our attention to the guys leading right now. Andre Borcher leading his first lap in a while in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Will he come onto pit road this time by, as Gregor Hutu's onto pit road, and Andre Borcher and Martin Patila both onto pit road as well.
So the one-stop strategy, this is where they are going to make their stop, and this is when it's going to be, this is the critical time now for all 3 of these drivers. They're going to, as with the drivers' previous lap, they're going to have to come out and be absolutely perfect, because now Hugo Luis and company are going to be able to be lighter, and now for them, the ball's in their court. How far of a gap can they build?
So Andre Borcher comes out of pit road. Let's see where he feeds into the track. I believe he will be very close to Mo Garfilo. However, Borcher will come out ahead. And importantly, it does look as though that side by side here between Borcher and Benito, who's going to get the jump? It's going to be Benito on the outside line, but only just.
Only just. Very brave move there. Great side by side action there. And for Borcher now, does he have a chance to respond? I think the next chance he'll have is down through turn 1. But how fast is Benito's car, and who's better on a full fuel load? We're about to find out.
We are indeed, and let's not forget though, Benito is going to be on a heavier fuel load, because he's now got fuel to go to the end of this race compared to Andre Borcher, who will be, well, let's be honest, he's probably good to go to the end of the race as well. So it's now going to come down to raw talent between these 2 drivers. Andre Borcher, you have to say, he's made up a lot of time though in this middle sector of the racetrack. He qualified down in P7 Now he's running in what is a net third place on the racetrack after everyone has now made one pit stop. You see Benito immediately going defensively. Will Borgia look down to the inside? The answer is going to be yes, he will. Will he get the job done down into the center rest? And the answer is going to be no! He spins it! And he collects Filo!
Oh no, what a good run for Filo, destroyed by not of his own doing. Oh, that is so unfortunate.
And we'll get ourselves a replay of that in just one moment's time. But down into the center S, Andre Borgia, he does one of those half spins and he's trying to get that car pointing back in the right direction. But Mo Garfilo just came in with a huge head of speed. And Mo Garfilo, he just couldn't do anything really. The entire track was blocked. You've got to argue, actually, that Borgia, the one thing you need to do if you spin, just keep your car in a static position, because he just came across Mo Garfilo a little bit there.
Yeah, he was sort of in a flat spin in a way where, you got to think maybe Andre thought the cars were going to go to the outside, and for Filo, nothing he could do, absolutely nothing he could do. At that point in time, he was committed to the apex. He couldn't spin the car to the inside. There was no way to go to the outside. That truly is a situation where when your luck is up, there is nothing you can do.
And what was a good result going there for Mo Garfilo, running solidly inside the top 5. It all goes away for him. And Hugo Luis is now back scored as your race leader. The advantage between himself and Martin Conke is up to 8.1 seconds on the racetrack. Enzo Benito, he's now got a 4-second advantage over Martin Patila because of the fact that Andre Borgia has had that spin. And Borgia, I'm just having a look at his car. He has got some substantial wing damage, and he's also got Jeremy Bouteloup in another of the Radicals cars coming up right behind him as they come down into turn number 5 once again.
Yep, great battles all throughout the track, and just want to go back. Filo had such a good run going, and well, it's always aggravating when your car gets destroyed and the driver that, collected you is out still driving. So, man, unfortunate. But now some great battles in the middle of the pack as Budolo is going to be on Bocher now, which Bocher might have a little bit of damage from that contact.
He does seem to have quite a lot of damage to that front wing. Towards the rear of the field, by the way, Michel Mancusi and Marcus Catton are battling for P22 on the racetrack as we speak. Now, let's not forget that there are different things that these drivers want to do right now, as Jeremy Bouteloup has indeed been able to make that pass on Andre Borgia. It was a very easy pass, actually, when all was said and done. And there are different things that these drivers consider in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. You think about Gregor Hutu, you think about Hugo Luis and some of those top drivers. Of course, they are battling for the championship. For some of the guys towards the rear of the field, they're battling for pride to just get themselves a decent, solid finish in the championship, Aaron. And let's be honest, not everyone can win the championship. For some guys, just keeping their WCS license for 2015 is going to be a victory in their own part for them.
You don't want to... Right now, you want to string as many good finishes as possible, top 15s, top 10s, because you don't want to get in the second half of the season and have to think where you stand. Are you at risk of essentially relegation, not making it? So that's why at the start of this race, we saw such intense racing for 15th, 16th, 20th position, because this is an important part of the season. You don't want to have that pressure later on. Get the good finishes now. Get the points now, where that's not in your mind later on of having to be perfect and not thinking about relegation later on.
And we do have to talk about two guys scored in 26th and 27th position, Gregor Hutu and Oli Picard. They were stopped scoring for one lap. We don't have any reason to understand why. However, they are scored in the 26th and 27th positions in the racetrack. And you have to say, for both those drivers, this is going to be hugely disappointing for them, because you have a look at Gregor Hutu. He would have been running in a net 3rd position, Oli Picard in a net 4th position. And earlier on into the championship, this is the last thing that you're going to want to have when you're trying to get momentum in the early rounds of the season.
Yeah, for these drivers, one lap down, we really can't figure out why, but for them right now, they got it. As a driver, you don't want to be in that position. Things outside your control, putting you one lap down, but for the two of them, they just have to log laps, be as clean as possible, and try to make up as much ground as possible.
The field has started to settle down a little bit as well. We have got a couple of battles which continue on at the racetrack. Mainly outside the top 15, you've got Dion Burgess and Isaac Price battling for position right now for P19 and 20 respectively on the racetrack. Ahead of them, you've got Timo Eden and Ricky Alatalo. They are battling for position. Andre Borcher is back onto pit road, however, so it does look as though whatever happened to Borcher is really terminal, because he's got some front wing damage. He is back onto his pit road for his second stop, and he was on a one-stop strategy, Aaron.
Yeah, he was losing about two seconds plus a lap, so for him, fix the wing damage, get the speed back in the car, making the stop now. Let's see how long they hold him. But so he's backing away, but the time it took him to stop now, over the course of the entire run, he's going to gain time, because he was losing 2-3 seconds a lap with that damage.
Yeah, and he has got a new front wing on that 3D Motorsports car, and he is back out and away in that number 9 machine, and he has fallen down to the rear end of the top 20, however. Jake Sturgis, who's running in the 20th position, is right behind him now on the racetrack. So a bad turn of events there for Andre Borger, and that all started with that half spin down into the center Aaron. And from that point on, Andre Borger, who's having a great run here today, qualifying in 7th position, leading laps here, just didn't go well for him.
Didn't go well, and when he goes back, he's going to replay that half spin 1,000 times in his mind if he hasn't already. I think that's why it took him so long to make a pit stop. If he knew he was, that incident happened about 6-7 laps ago. To get the maximum gain, he should have pitted immediately. Here comes Jake Sturgis now behind him. He may be able to make a move. He's going to look on the right, and here he goes. He's going to go around the outside here on the main straightaway.
Indeed he will. So Jake Sturgis there, who, let's not forget, won in the Peak Antifreeze NASCAR Series powered by iRacing.com on Tuesday night at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And it's been an up and down week really for Sturgis, because he had, of course, that great finish, taking victory there in what was a fuel mile race to the end. However, here today, he qualified in the 17th position, running in the 18th position. And this is the same Jake Sturgis who, let's not forget, 2 years ago, finished 3rd in the championship and had a great run in the championship last year. Does seem to be he's just not got that much speed in his iNext racing car right now.
Yeah, not the race he wanted to go, and it's amazing how fast in racing, you can go from a win to just not having the day you want. 18th currently, and for Andre Borger, I think the damage is more than just the wing damage. That car's still not as quick in a straight line, so for Borger, it's just going to be logging laps now. As incident behind him as Marcus Canton gets contact and he spins around, so that was the battle for 20th, resulting in contact and a spin, but everybody keeps going.
Yeah, and that was contact there with Michelle Mancusi down into turn number 12 on the racetrack, because they ran down into Young Cow, and then actually then almost 3-4 wide cars scattering, pushing the all the way on the AstroTurf there.
And actually, well, that was right in front of our leader, Hugo Luis, so very lucky Luis there. He had to slow way down. He was on the accelerating up the hill. He went from 120 having to go all the way down to less than 70 miles an hour to avoid that incident.
I need to interrupt you, because I've got word that Jonas Nakurian and Gregor Hutu have had a moment on the racetrack, and 2 Finnish drivers. Yeah, indeed, Jonas Nakurian, and I think this was Jonas Nakurian who was spun there in that Radicals car, and he was trying to battle with Kazuki Omishima, and then he just, I think he spun his car, and Gregor Hutu coming down into Young Cow, out of Young Cow, just clipped Nakurian, flipping upside down. Gregor Hutu is out of the race.
And again, the spinning car needs to stay stationary. Nakurian it looks like he got on the gas trying to get back in the race, having no idea that 2 cars were coming. And for Gregor Hutu, what can you do? What can you do? It's like being T-boned at an intersection. I don't think Hutu ever saw it coming.
So that's the second car we've had incidents with cars spinning and coming back onto the racetrack. Jonas Nakurian now, and of course we had the big one with Andre Borger a little bit early on. So a bad day goes even worse for Gregor Hutu, and this is one of his first retirements in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series for quite a long time. We'll have to get our statistician to see just how many races it has been. And we have got UAE, who's had another problem, but it seems on the racetrack. front, however, Hugo Luis is still leading, but the gap has come down between himself and Martin Kroenke. Kroenke last time by 1:11.805. Hugo Luis at 1:11.8. Just trying to see where he lost all that time, and it was on lap number 40. Hugo Luis lost 3 seconds on one lap trying to get around some lap traffic.
No, that was the incident with Marcus Canton. He had to slow all the way down to 65 miles an hour at a spot where you're normally doing 150 as the track had a spinning car. So for Hugo Luis, I was mentioning that when we had the Hutu incident, for Hugo Luis losing 3 seconds there, that could play out at the end. When you're on that strategy, you really can't afford those 3 seconds, but what we've seen with spinning cars, it was definitely better to play it safe than risk a car moving on you. So this middle section of the race has gotten really rather bizarre, Will. So Andre Bocher lets his teammate Hugo Luis go by. Clean move there, which Andre Bocher's car just, that damage really has not played well for him, and for a driver right now, very aggravating to go the rest of the race with the car capable of running in the top 3 and just not go his way. And Mansuni now right behind him, battle for 19th, and with Bocher's car, I really don't think he is going to have anything there for him. As the battle for 19th continues on, behind him, Martin Kroenke runs second. Battle for 21, 22, 23, still 3 cars in a line. Great battle there. The contact doesn't seem to have affected any of those cars. Those were the 3 cars involved in the incident about 4 laps down. In front of them, Mancusi now is going to make the pass for 19th spot, and for Bocher, it won't be long before he falls into the clutches of the battle for 21st, 22nd, 23rd. So, oh man, for Bocher, long race still to go, and right now he's just in a battle right now to salvage as many points as possible. And oh boy, long race for him. He still has about 27 laps to go. Hugo Luis out front, 1:11.4 at that time. Let's take a look at the lap times. Martin Kroenke, just 6/1000ths of a second slower. So for the 2 drivers out front, mirroring each other's lap times, but there's 4.9 seconds behind them. Then it's 24 seconds back to Enzo Benito, but remember, split strategies at this moment in time. So split strategies there, so we really don't know how this is going to play out until the front 2 make their final pit stops, which going back 4 laps ago for Hugo Luis, those 3 seconds, that could be huge, as Luis is going around Paul Ilbrink at the moment, so that's going to put us 17 cars on the lead lap at this point in time. Next car that will be potentially going a lap down, Jake Sturgis, who, as Will mentioned, won earlier this week in the Peak Antifreeze Series, but right now he is about to fall into the clutches of Hugo Luis. Maybe this lap, maybe next lap, and then for Hugo Luis, it's going to be another 13, 14 seconds of the car in front, so this could be the last lap car Hugo Luis has to deal with in some time. Other battles at the race on the track right now. Big battle for 14th, 15th, 16th. Timo Ivanen, then Dion Vergers and Isaac Price going at it as the battle for 15th. As Dion heads into the pits right now, so that's going to be a 2-step strategy. So that battle is going to quiet down at the.
So then, working ourselves right now on lap number 45 out of 71 here at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace. Hugo Luis is still classified as your race leader by 4.8 seconds over Martin Kroenke. He has been able to start closing, bringing that gap back out. However, last time by, those 2 drivers were separated by just 1/1000th of a second on the racetrack, as we are into the closing stages of this race right now. Drivers who are classified as out of the race, you have Alexia Loma, Jorn Yen, Simon Cattell, Jason Lovett, Stephen Michaels, Mo Garfila, and perhaps most prominently you have Gregor Hutu. Juhu Abe is classified in the race, however he is scored 3 laps down right now, And this race really did take a huge turn of events a little bit earlier on, as it all just really went wrong for Andre Borcher down into the center S about 7 laps ago right now, as he then collected a couple of drivers. That put Mo Garfilo out the race. However, Hugo Luis, he is getting closer and closer to his second pit stop. We're going to go on board with Hugo Luis, and this is going to be a lap from his eyes as he leads the race, as we work ourselves right now on lap number 47 out of 71. So then, Aaron, we're working on board with Hugo Luis right now, and you have to say he really has just been dominant in this race. He's pulling out a gap over Martin Cronke once again, but just phenomenally quick he's been right now. And once again, we have to say this is a driver who's been ill all week, but Hugo Luis driving phenomenally right now.
Phenomenally, as Martin Cronke is in the pits this time, so Hugo Luis is going to go a lap longer. But for Hugo Luis, this is the moment in time. This is the part of the race that if you are ill, this is where it's going to start affecting you. We are now 57 minutes into this race, and if you have any ailments whatsoever, this is where mind over matter will. That's really what he's going to have to do right now. If you start getting a headache, start getting if you need to drink water at this point in time, this is where it's going to affect him.
He's onto pit road for his second pit stop of the day as well, with 47 laps scored complete in this race. So 45 miles an hour. Be interesting to see if he takes tyres on his final start. That will potentially make his pit stop shorter. He will take 4 fresh tyres. He will top back up with race gas as well. He will be out and away for his final stint in this race, and that will give the race lead over to Martin Cronke as he comes past the start-finish line. He will be provisionally scored as your race leader. You have to say, though, the driver who we haven't talked too much about, Enzo Benito, he really has had a great race going on.
Great race for Enzo Benito. However, not able to get out in front of Hugo Luis. That gap maybe about 1.5 to 2 seconds. So I think Hugo Luis is actually going to maintain the lead here.
Indeed, the answer is yes, he did. So Hugo Luis, he was able to gain enough of a stop there to get back out into the race lead ahead of Enzo Benito. The gap between those two drivers has come down the racetrack as Benito gets a huge wiggle there through turn number 7, and he was also to get out Hugo Luis ahead of Kazuki Omishima, making the pass on him in his running racing car. So Onishima, of course, he didn't start the last race. He's having a difficult day here today, running in the 25th position in his first running in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. But one of the things that we need to pay attention to in the last stages of this race is lap traffic. As Ole Picana spins his car. Ole Picana spins his car down into the center rest. Dion Burgess comes to a complete stop there to avoid hitting him. And Picana, I think there was just the tiniest amount of contact actually between the two drivers, but thankfully, because Burgess slowed down, he was able to just about avoid any further incident. And that was a close one, Aaron.
Very close, just got clipped just a little bit. Great job of avoiding by a couple drivers there to not make contact, but, well, he did get spun out, but really that could have been a lot worse. Still in the race, we've seen other drivers spin, and, well, race is ruined, but for Ali Picala, not as bad as it could have been.
And Enzo Benito, the gap between himself and Hugo Luis, by the way, is 2.4 seconds on the racetrack. And last time by, Benito did a 1:11.649. And we'll get confirmation to see what Hugo Luis's lap time as they come past the drive. And we were talking about lap traffic just a moment ago, just about how difficult it can be to get around the lap traffic, even with blue flags, on such a difficult middle section of the racetrack. Hugo Luis has a 1:12.1. Enzo Benito does a 1:11.9. Here comes Enzo Benito.
Here comes Enzo Benito, and you're right, lap traffic. There are blue flags, that means move over, but in the middle section of this racetrack, there really is nowhere to go. If you catch them at the wrong point in time, you really could spend about 5-6 of those infield turns waiting to get back around. So I count about 7 cars that are going to come into play here in the next 5 or 6 laps. Lots of traffic coming up.
And for Hugo Luis, he needs to hope that there wasn't a repeat of what happened at Yonkau about 15 laps ago in this race, because that really could make this another close finish in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. I do think, though, all of a sudden Enzo Benito has got the bit between his teeth, because he's just become a different driver in the last 5 or 6 laps or so. And ever since he knew that he was in touching distance of winning this race, he really has started pounding up some incredibly fast laps. His last lap, working through traffic, was a 111.9. Before that, a 111.6, a 111.4, a 111.5. Let's see whether Hugo Luis can respond. The answer is yes, but not by that much, because look at Enzo Benito, a 111.1.
Wow, what a lap by Enzo. And you see this so many times with drivers. You can practice, you can qualify, and you can be fast, but when you have that car in front of you, when you are that close, your mind, your body, you can just start doing lap times you didn't know were possible. So Benito right now on the move, and for our leader Hugo Luis, wow, we've got 3 cars in front of him now, make it 4 cars within about 2 turns of each other, and Benito is closing the gap at a super quick rate. We're going to have a battle for the lead here within a couple laps, Will.
We're going to have an amazing battle for the lead once again for the second race in a row in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. It will come down to that run after pit stop. Benito did lose a little bit there in turns number 11 and 12. He now comes through Yonkau. Up the hill he will come. Once again, the gap is about 1 second on the racetrack. And if Hugo Luis is lucky and catches these drivers on the straightaways, and actually, it could be an advantage. Oli Picana and Andre Borcha, they are battling right now for P21 and 22 ahead of them on the racetrack. But last time by, Benito, the gap was down to 0.6 of a second on the racetrack. Here comes number 17 Team Redline car.
Wow, what a turn of events. Wonder if maybe the tire situation with Hugo Luis changing it. Wonders if those just aren't agreeing. Whatever the case may be, Benito is there, and for Hugo Luis, he is going to have to hope that he catches traffic in the right spot, like right here on the racetrack next lap, where he gets around and then he has a buffer where maybe he can build the lead. But right now, I don't know if he's going to get that far. Benito looks to the inside, and here he goes.
Oh, what a pass there by Enzo Benito around the outside of Hugo Luis. Enzo Benito to the race lead. I'm just trying to figure out whether Luis was into a half spin there. He did back out of the way. Enzo Benito around. I have never seen a pass like that, Aaron.
No, never. If you said there'd be a pass for the race lead at that part of the racetrack at the start of the race, I would have said, no way. We just saw it. What a pass. And now it's up to Hugo Luis to find that, whatever he has left. It could be potentially the illness he's had. I said this is where it was really going to play into a factor. Gotta wonder, maybe is that what's going on right now? Is the fact that he's been now racing for 64 minutes on what could be the most physical racetrack, mentally and physically, is that playing a part?
Indeed, and you have to say, for Hugo Luis, his lap times aren't as fast as they were earlier on in this race. He has been struggling a little bit, and let's not forget, his entire runs he was running within the 1 minute 11, he did laps in the 1 minute 12 after his pit stop. Let's see whether or not he can regroup, however, because, I mean, the gap was 0.7 of a second last time by. It is not over for Hugo Luis in that number 3 3rd Motorsports machine, as the lap traffic will now play into his hands a little bit. You got Lasse Brun-Hansen ahead of race leader Enzo Benito, and Andre Borcha ahead of race leader Enzo Benito, who will likely be caught in the next lap and a half to 2 laps. But you have to say, the number 17 driver, Enzo Benito, what a run he has had in the first 2 races of this season.
What a run, making an absolute statement. Now in the lead, driving away, and about 17 laps away from taking victory. Although it's going to be a long 17 laps, 2 lap cars in front of him. And Hugo Luis picked it back up, has got back into the 111. So for Luis right now, maybe he's going to be able to find what he had earlier on. Maybe the tires are going to come in, and don't count Hugo Luis out of this race at all.
Don't count Hugo Luis out of the race in any way, shape or form. The gap was up to 1.2 seconds that last time by, but this is the difficult bit, because now Benito's going to have to get around lap traffic at the most difficult part of the racetrack. He's got Lasse Brun-Hansen and Andre Borcher ahead of him. We know, of course, that Borcher is with an ailing race car. You see, when Hansen gets out of the way, now Benito will likely get past Borcher on that run down into Yonkau. But behind of him, Luis is really doing everything he can to get past the lap traffic as well. He knows he's got to maximize his advantage in this part of the race.
Absolutely maximize it right now, and for Enzo Benito, he's going to catch Andre at almost the right time if he can get around him before turn 1, because he's going to have the slipstream toe down the straightaway. He's going to look up the inside of P18, and he is going to put Andre Borcher a lap down. So the gap, that last lap, another 4/10, Enzo Benito's faster, so Benito still driving away.
Benito is still driving away, and the gap is now up to 1.6 seconds on the racetrack. Martin Conke is sat in the 3rd position right now, 8.2 seconds behind your race leader. Tommy Nilsson in 4th. Yorni Tamada is on pit road once again from 5th position. So Yorni Tamada is on pit road to make his final stop of the race. That will improve Martin Patila's position up into 5th. Robin Friskops is running in the 7th position right now, going to Bootslu in 8th. And then you've got Ilka Hakana in 9th, and then Riku Alatalo round out your top 10. Where did Benito come from in this race? He qualified in 4th, fell back earlier on, and then all of a sudden he's leading this race and pulling away from Hugo Luis. And Yorni Tamada has spun his race car on the racetrack, and he's now got Alex Simpson in the Apex Racing number 35 car, getting past him. Yorni Tamada, he had to spin, and he's back onto the racetrack. No real harm, no foul, but he actually spun it coming out of pit road. It's one of the most difficult places to actually sort your car out, and he has got some wing damage because of it, Aaron. Yorni Tamada, very close call there for him, and we have seen some drivers being very, very aggressive with coming out of pit road at this racetrack, and he has got to be aggressive because, yes, it's a shorter way around, just like at Spa. However, it's a very tight, difficult section of the racetrack.
Yes, and when you do have those split strategies, if you can gain that 1 or 2 seconds on the exit, that could be the difference between a couple, 3-4 positions, as we do have close battles in the middle of the racetrack, and we do have more cars coming into the pit, so these drivers are really going to push it on exit. You have to for every position.
And Martin Patilla and Tommy Nilsson, they are battling on the racetrack right now. So Tommy Nilsson and Martin Patilla, they're having a great scrap for the last of the top 5 positions right now. You have got a number of drivers scored 1 lap down. Andre Borcher, Lasse Brun Hansen, Michelle Mancusi, Kazuki Omishima, Dion Burgess, Marcus Caton, Alexei Utiakola, Oli Pacala, Christian Laurent, Yunus Nakurian are all scored 1 lap down. UA is scored 3 laps down right now. And in P22, you've got Dion Burgess right now working in that 18th position. But you've also got Oli Pacala right now battling side by side with Marcus Caton. And for Oli Pacala as well, this has got to be heartbreaking for him. Not getting scored for 1 lap, but, you know, he's running a great race. And Enzo Benito, by the way, is on and off of pit road. So Benito makes a second stop in this race.
Oh, so that would explain how he was so much quicker there. Definitely would explain that.
So Enzo Benito, he made a second pit stop, and I'm just trying to figure out where Enzo Benito came into pit road that first time by, and it was at the conclusion of lap number 31. So for Enzo Benito, he's actually just done a very short middle stint, and he's on a 2-stop strategy. That's not a strategy that we expected to have happen, but this puts Hugo Luis comfortably back into the race later. Perhaps Luis knew that was going to be the case, judged by Benito's lap times, and that's why he allowed him to go around the outside of him. Just didn't want to get his race car into any trouble. But Hugo Luis is now scored once again as your race leader. A crazy turn of events here at Interlagos, and I have no idea why Benito did a 2-stop strategy.
No idea whatsoever. Neither of us even thought that was even a possibility if you pitted at that point in time to not go the distance. So we'll have to see where Benito slots out of the pits. But for Hugo Luis, I think you're right, Will. I think he realized that there is no way Benito was on a one-stopper with the speed he had. So why risk it? Just let him go.
And Benito comes out into the 3rd position on the racetrack. That moves Martin Conke back up into the 2nd position. So your top 2 drivers, they qualified on the front row. They are leading once again 3D Motorsports have come back into their own this season, because last year they had a difficult time in that middle portion of the campaign, and I immediately have to turn back to Sebring 1 year ago when Louise and Kroenke almost came together, and that arguably cost Louise the race. Then at Watkins Glen, the two cars out in the first corner of the first lap after they came together, Louise and Kroenke. Now it does look as though that 3D Motorsports are back into high gear.
Oh, back into high gear and in dominating fashion. Absolute dominating fashion at this point in time. Back to Benito, it is now 19.6 seconds. So Hugo Luis has a 7.2 second gap on second, but wow, what a run.
Kazuki Omishima had a very close call actually with Lasse Brun-Hansen just a moment ago. I'm trying to see if there was any contact between those two drivers. There wasn't, but Kazuki Omishima having a great battle with Michel Mancusi and with Lasse Brun-Hansen right now. This mid-pack really is nose to tail between Andre Borcher, Yorni Tamala on the racetrack, Michel Mancusi, Kazuki Omishima, and they've also got Martin Kroenke in P2 trying to get around all of them because, of course, these guys are scored one lap down.
And looking at this, we have P17 through about P22. Just about 4 seconds separates, maybe about 5 seconds separates 22 through P17. So this race to the checkered is going to be very intense. As you mentioned, every point in this series matters. And none of these drivers are going to leave anything on the table. If they can take it, they're going to take it. Sure.
They are going to take it indeed, but the gap between Louise and Martin Kroenke is 7.3 seconds on the racetrack. Enzo Benito is a further 12 seconds back in the third position. Tommy Nilsson, what a run by Tommy Nilsson today in that number 31 car, running in the fourth position. We haven't talked much about him at all, but what a run for that Twister racing machine.
Yeah, he started P15, so a great run through the field. He too was on a two-step strategy and was really putting down some good lap times before his second stop. But at the moment, great run, but he does have Marty Patila behind him, and this battle for fourth is gonna, I think, rage to the end of this race with about 11 laps to go.
Yeah, Oli Picard is still battling with Alexei Yusiakoda right now, and you've got Andre Borcher, Lasse Brun-Hansen, and Dion Burgess. They are still pretty much nose to tail. That battle between Tommy Nilsson and Martin Patilla, last time Brian Patilla did a 1 minute 11.663. His fastest lap of the race is a 1:11.2. Tommy Nilsson last time by a 1:11.7. That is about half a tenth of a second slower, and his fastest lap of the race is 0.2 of a second slower than Martin Patilla. So right now, you've got to say that Nilsson is on pure defense.
Pure defense, and it could be the dirty air once again. Marty really closes up on these two straightaways, but he just doesn't have anything for Nilsson in the middle section of the racetrack. So what we saw earlier in the race, that's what we're seeing again right now. Closes up on the straights, but in the middle of the track, just doesn't seem to have anything at this point in time.
Andre Borcher and Lasse Brun-Hansen side by side. They're going to stay side by side through turn 5. You do not want to go side by side for that portion of the racetrack. They stay side by side through turn number 6. Brun-Hansen and Andre Borcher. Borcher able to get the job done eventually, and that was after 4 corners of side by side racing. What a move there! What a battle between those two drivers. And let's not forget, Brun-Hansen's the driver who ran side by side through Air Rouge last week.
Again, side by side through there, like that. Incredible stuff, showing just how strong this field is, that you can run side by side through there and come out the other side. But this battle's not over, Will.
Behind them, you've got Alexei Yusiakoda and Dion Burgess. They've been side by side for almost half a lap. Let's see whether Yakoda can go around the outside into turn 1. The answer's going to be they contact! Yakoda spinning around there, and after side by side racing for almost half a lap, it comes to a Soroyen down into the center as it looks as though that Alexei Yusiakoda tried to pinch down into that first corner, really did pinch Burgess down onto that inside curb. Now that inside curb is part of the racing line. The two make contact, but it does look as though that Yakoda is going to try and carry on. Dion Burgess is also still circulating on the racetrack, but that was a messy incident there between those two drivers.
Oh, and unfortunate for both drivers there. If either driver there could have maybe done something just a little bit different, but contact on lap 61, and Oleske definitely got the worst end of that contact.
And this battle that we were talking earlier between Tommy Nilsson and Martin Tiller, that has settled down for a lap or so, because Nilsson now has a 1.1 second advantage over Patila. And I am thinking that perhaps Patila's tyres might be going away, because he was struggling on the infield section that time. He comes out of Yonkal. Let's see what the gap is going to be as they come past the start-finish line once again. Martin Tiller last night did a 1 minute 12.2 compared to a 1:11.6 for Tommy Nilsson. As they come past the track once again with less than 10 laps to go in this race, the battle for the fourth position, 1:11.7 for Tommy Nilsson, 1:11.9 for Martin Patila. This battle will still go to the end, however, it's a 1.2 second deficit right now for Martin Patila.
And he's going to have his work cut out for him. That car, he's faster on the straightaways, but right now really struggling in the infield section. He's losing just about a tenth a lap, and it's all in this second sector. So car not as strong there as it was just about 5 laps ago when this battle was, when he was right there. But for right now, 5th place, still a great run for Patilla, but if he has anything left, he has 8 laps to try to get back up to Tommy Nielsen.
The next round of the 2014 NASCAR Peak Anti-Freeze Series is on March 25th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. 125 laps around the Auto Club Speedway. It'll be live on PSR TV, the Motor Racing Network, and also on iRacing Live. And the next round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series will be March 29th, Suzuka Circuit, here on RaceBot TV. And less than 10 laps to go in this race. That battle between Nelson and Patila continues on. There's still battles, though, going on up and down this field, Aaron. And we talked about it in the first part of this race, that the drivers will separate with fuel loads. They'll come back together in the middle stage of the race. Then they'll separate, and they're doing that final coming together with less than 10 laps to go.
Oh, yeah. The battles all throughout the racetrack. We've got the 3 cars battling for 20th. That battle for 5th, or 4th rather, is going to rage to the end. So as the strategies now have come together, we do have battles all throughout the racetrack. Battle for 12th, Riku Alatalo and Isaac Price are almost nose to tail. About 3 car lengths separate them for the battle for 12th. And yeah, all throughout the field, this is going to be good to the end. These drivers, every point matters, and if you have that car in front of you, you're not just going to be content running with 13th. If you're in 13th and 12th is in front of you, you're going to do everything possible to make that pass.
Alex Simpson in the number 35 Apex Racing UK car has been able to move himself up into the 10th position on the racetrack. However, he is under a little bit of pressure right now from Jake Sturgis. Last time by, Sturgis was 2/10 of a second faster, and Sturgis is only about half a second back on the racetrack. And Sturgis really has had a good second half of this race. He languished a little bit in the first half, but we talked about it earlier on, Aaron. But right now, Sturgis in what we always known to be one of the fastest cars in the straight line, the iNext Racing car, is all over the rear of Alex Simpson.
Gotta wonder if, gonna have to check, but maybe Jake Sturgis was on a one-step strategy, and that's why when we saw him earlier, his car seemed to be so slow, so sluggish, but last time we talked about him, he was running in the 17th, 18th position, now running 11th and a chance at a top 10 with Alex Simpson just 4 lengths in front of him.
And as they'll come down into the infield section, we'll keep an eye on that battle. We've still got to keep an eye on the Tommy Nilsson Martin Patilla battle. However, it does look as though that one really has kind of calmed down just a little bit. Enzo Benito is getting held up a little bit by some back markers right now. He's trying to get past Andre Borcher, Marcus Caton, and Lassie Brun Hansen. And it does look like there Benito gets past Andre Borcher down into the center rest. But Benito hasn't had a very easy ride of the lap traffic here today.
Now, what can make lap traffic really difficult, those 3 cars that he just passed him, having those 3 cars in front of him, what makes it difficult is the fact that they are running for a position. When you're running by yourself, it's easy to let the lead lap car go, but when you're in a battle, it's just a little bit more difficult.
And Jake Sturgis on the outside of Alex Simpson, able to get that job done into the center S. What a pass once again by Jake Sturgis on the outside line. And that outside into the center S really has worked well. In the same way, Aaron, that down into Lacuim, you can run the outside line at the Spa. Here, the outside line into the center S. If you can be the last of the late breakers, you can still make the apex in the first part of the corner, then have the inside line into the second part, and then you're pretty much going to be flat out for the curve of the stall anyway, as Rico Alatalo has hit the wall, and he was running in the 15th position. He's brought his car onto pit road.
Oh, good run by Rico. Just talked about him 2 laps ago battling Isaac Price. But, oh, you never like to have a 65 lap run be ruined. So unfortunate there, and looking back, just got on the power and just clipped the grass with the left rear in the infield. So, and that's sometimes how you make a pass. Isaac Price was putting the pressure on, and Rico just made just a slight error at the worst time.
Less than 5 laps to go, and out front it is all about Hugo Luis in that number 3 3ID Motorsports car. They've got themselves a new sponsor for this race, with Farage stepping on board with them for the 2014 campaign. And you've got to say, in sim racing, the first thing you want to do if you get yourself a new sponsor is get a victory. And Hugo Luis in that number 3 car, it's just been absolutely dominant today, because early on we thought that perhaps Benito had a chance. Early on we thought that Hutu perhaps made a chance. Even Crunky perhaps might have had a chance, but really, the one guy who's been there all race long has been Hugo Luis.
Absolutely, and almost 7.5 second lead, and that is even with losing 3-4 seconds avoiding the spinning car earlier. So the gap really should be double digits in the terms of how many seconds his lead is, but almost having to come to a stop to avoid an incident earlier in the race. But great run, and he's just less than 3 laps away from bringing it home. The battle for 4th, though. Battle for 4th, Will. Patella is closing the gap.
Yeah, he has closed that gap down once again, and of course, with just a couple of laps to go in this race, anything can happen in this battle for the 4th position. The one is Sturgis and Simpson. Well, that one is over now. Sturgis was able to get past Simpson and had really pulled away in the last couple of laps. But Patila and Nilsson, this one will likely go down to the wire. Right now, they're working themselves through that midfield section of the racetrack. They'll have 3 laps to go the next time they come past the stripe. And this could go either way, I think, because Twister Racing, they've always been a good team, and they have been able to finish ahead of the 3ID Motorsports cars. However, on the day, you have to say 3ID have had the best equipment underneath them.
Oh, most certainly best equipment indeed. The results currently show that. Patella that time much closer to Nielsen than he has been in previous laps. So whatever issues he was having in the infield section, he has figured that out, because he is almost within striking distance.
As they come down into the center, as he's not quite close enough, and he also runs really horribly over the curbs there. That is going to squander his opportunity down into turn 4. And it's all that thing about patience. Yes, you've only got a finite number of laps to get the job done. However, you've got to be careful and set that move up. And I think really for Patila that time, he lost it by going over that curb into turn 1.
Oh, the bouncing there really hurt him getting the power down. He may have, if he would have perfected the exit there, he may have been able to use the slipstream and make a move into turn 4. Realistically, he's going to have maybe 4 more chances at a pass. The Senate S and turn 4 at the line 2 laps to go, so he essentially has 4 more opportunities. But in front of him, we have 3 cars battling for position. So I think Nielsen and Patella are going to catch them, so that's going to play a factor as well.
And one driver also who's just appeared out of nowhere is Ilka Hapara in that number 12 car. Now Ilka, he qualified down in the 21st position. He's now running in 7th, Aaron.
Wow, what a day indeed. I think that's the first time we've mentioned his name. So silently moved his way through the field, but sometimes that's what you want, Will. If we're not talking about you, you're not 3-4 wide, you're just methodically moving up the race, so great job.
Dion Verges and Andre Borcher, they are battling in the closing stages of this race. Also, Christian Laurent right behind them as well. Will Laurent try and go around the outside to come down to turn number 5? The answer is going to be, I don't think he's going to be close enough. No, he won't, but he tried on the outside line there. Battle between Nelson and... This is the battle, actually, between Nelson and Patila, which is going on right behind them. And this actually is going to help out Tommy Nilsson just a little bit. If he can clear these cars and put one car in the middle of him and Martin Patila, this could be game over for that 3D Motorsports car.
Could be, but at the same time, as fierce as the battle as Laurent and Bergers have had as we start the last lap for the race leader, I don't know if he's just going to let Nielsen by. It's been such an intense battle. You can sort of get blind and just see the car in front of you and lose track that you have a lead lap car that is also battling for position behind you.
Meanwhile, Hugo Louise works himself through turn number 5 for the final time, down into the infield section of the racetrack. He goes, and for Hugo Louise, he has just been absolutely sublime in this race today. He qualified on pole position. He was able to gain a huge advantage in the early going, and he works himself down towards turn number 13, Young Cow, for the final time in this race. This is Hugo Louise' home track, and he will come up the hill for the final time. Brazilians around the world on iRacing will be celebrating as Hugo Louise comes out of the final left-hand kick, and he claims victory in the second round of the 2014 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Hugo Louise back to victory lane.
Great win by Hugo Louise, and also on the last lap, Tommy Nielsen, a contact there in the first right-hander, and Tommy Nielsen did a little half spin, so that's going to give Marty Patella the 4th place finish. Nielsen able to continue on, but that battle, Marty was able to get there and take the 4th spot.
So, Martin Kroenke comes across the start-finish line, and he comes home in the 2nd position. Enzo Benito comes home 3rd in the lead Team Redline car. Martin Patella comes across the stripe 4th. Tommy Nielsen just coming past the line. He will round out your top 5. Jeremy Bouteloup in 6th. Ilka Hapala just past the line in 7th. Giuliano Rumi in 8th. And Sturgis almost trying to make that pass as they came to the stripe. And there was just 1/2 a tenth of a second between those two drivers. So Sturgis pulled out the draft a tiny bit earlier, Aaron. He might have got that position.
Oh, what a run by Jake Sturgis in the second half of this race. About halfway through the race, he was in about 17th, comes home 9th, almost 8th. Great second half of the race by Jake.
The cars continue to come past start finish line. Alex Simpson rounds out your top 10. However, as far as it goes, really, Hugo Louise was unstoppable today.
Oh, unstoppable. Great run, great smart race, realizing that Enzo Benito was on a different strategy, let him go, and even with the health issues you mentioned this week, Hugo Louise was essentially flawless. What other word could you use, Will?
Don't have any other word for Hugo Louise. This has got to be one of his most poignant victories, I think, in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, as he is going to... Is he going to lighten them up? The answer is going to be yes, he will. And the Freddie Motorsports car back to victory lane, and he will light the tyres up, do the celebratory donut, and he'll drive backwards towards pit road, and he is incredibly happy with his race victory. However, to run through your final race results here from the Autodromo Jose Carlos Passe, it is Hugo Louise taking victory in a time of 1 hour, 25 minutes, 32.948 seconds. Martin Kroenke in the 2nd position at 4.6 seconds back at the line. Enzo Benito in 3rd, 20 seconds behind your race leader. Martin Patella in 4th. Tommy Nielsen in 5th. Jeremy Bouteloup in the 6th position. Ilka Hapana in 7th position. Giuliano Rumi in 8th. Jake Sturgis in 9th, and Alex Simpson rounds out your top 10. Isaac Price, Paul Ilbrink, and Robin Friscott are 11th through 13th. Paulo Mulia, the last car to finish on the lead lap, in the 14th position. Timo Ivanen, Jorni Tamala, Mikhail Mancusi, Kazuki Omishima, Ole Picard, and Lassie Brun Hansen round out your top 20 as the rest of the results come up on your screen momentarily. What a race we have had here today, Aaron.
What a race. A couple bizarre moments, and the start of the race. What intense battle we saw through the upper third to mid-pack, 3-4 wide racing. Several times where we both said, how on earth did they make it around the corner without everybody ending up off the track? We had split strategies. We had passing. Lots of passing here, Will. This track normally known for not much passing. We saw some fantastic passing here today.
We had passing down into turn 1, we had passing down into turn 4, and of course, we had Enzo Benito in turn 7 make that pass around Hugo Louise for the race lead. I've never seen that.
Yeah, we had passing where you're not supposed to be able to pass. So great battles here today. We had Hugo Luis putting on a clinic, but we also had drivers mid-pack. Tommy Nielsen started 15th, finished 5th. Jake Sturgis came from 17th and finished 9th. So we had a lot of people make up a lot of positions. This was very entertaining.
We'll continue to break it down in the RaceBot TV post-race show. And don't forget, before every round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, RaceBot TV presents the WCS Spotlight Show. Join myself, Will Vincent, Blake Townend, and Nick Rowland as we count down the green flag in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, bringing you all the news and highlights from the paddock, as well as bringing you news of qualifying itself on all RaceBot TV broadcasts. That is WCS Spotlight. It is 1 p.m. GMT immediately before all of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series races. Got a chance to chat with a couple of drivers, and we will start off by talking to Marty Patila from the Prix Motorsports camp. And Marty, you started today in the 9th position, net gain of 5 positions, coming home in 4th, and what a battle you had with Tommy Nielsen at the end.
Yeah, it was quite a fun, the last lap there. Basically, the whole race was quite action-filled. I guess there were quite many guys going off, having incidents or whatever, because suddenly I found myself from something like 4th position chasing Enzo Bonito. But, well, I made some mistakes and somehow also managed to damage my front wing there on my second stint. So the pit stop kind of got long because the crew was fixing something that I didn't even know that was broken. But in the end, 4th position is a lot better than I was expecting.
And you only made the one stop on lap number 33. You went on the one-stop strategy. However, we have seen other people, most notably your teammates, go on the two-stop strategy. What do you think the difference was between running on the one-stop or the two-stop strategy here today?
I have no idea because I did 2 stops.
Oh, you did? Oh, sorry, you did do the 2 stops in the end. I'm really sorry. I'll take that back. But do you think overall there was a big difference between running on the 1 or the 2-stop strategy?
I was actually quite surprised to see Jeremy there, quite close at some stage. Looking at the results, 7 seconds behind me, and I assumed that he was going for 1 stop. So I would say it was surprisingly fast.
Fast, and another good finish in that Prix Motorsports car. 2 weeks time, we'll head over to Suzuka Circuit, a track that you've been on many times before. It's been a crazy start to the Grand Prix season this year. What do you think is going to happen for you in 2 weeks' time?
I'm going to keep improving. Nothing else.
Always keep improving. I'm sure I've got a sponsorship message for that one, Aaron.
Yeah.
But, I mean, let's not forget, Marty Patila, he did start outside the top 10 when we think about it. Well, sorry, he started inside the top 10, but the rear end of the top 10 in that 9th position. And you have to consider, Patila, also, you've also got to consider the likes of Borcha, who had a good race until his incident, and Yoni Tamada. And it does seem to be that overall here today, the Prix Motorsports camp have just been phenomenally good.
Phenomenally good, absolutely. And if it weren't for that contact, maybe all 3 cars inside the top 5. So that contact for Bocher early set his car back. The car was never the same. Where he did finish, let's say 22nd. That's still 22nd. He finished off 3 drivers. So even for a damaged car, he did bring it home much higher than what it could have been.
And overall, I have to say, really, the Prix Motorsports camp have just been phenomenal. But you've got to say for Team Redline here today, yes, we had the issues with Gregor Hutu, the timing issue, and then also that contact with Jonas Nakurian. They have been on the back foot here, but still Enzo Benito, that Italian driver, a sterling performance by that number 17 car.
Perhaps one of the best passes I've ever seen, where you would not think it was even possible. Great pass there. Both of us, I think we thought he was going to win this race, thinking he was on the one-stopper, but in the end was on a 2-stop strategy. But a podium finish here and a great race overall by him. Another driver that really didn't put a foot wrong anywhere. So great run by him for sure, and I'm sure he's going to be happy with a 3rd place here today.
We're going to talk about drive of the race, and for me today, personally, there's only really one way I can put it. Hugo Louise.
Oh, no doubt about it. You mentioned maybe the flu, stomach issues this week. To put on a show the way he did, a smart drive. He didn't let the back markers fluster him. He got held up a couple times. He had an incident in front of him. He backed it way down, had the wherewithal to know, I have a big lead. There's no reason to go into this turn. There's a car in the middle of the track. Let's let it sort out. Great run by him. Just flawless. You got to give the drive of the race to him.
You've always got to give the drivers a race when you've given so much effort. And again, he has been on. Yes, drivers are always ill. Drivers always run through, illnesses throughout the season. But to just dominate a race today in the way that Hugo Louise has done, in my opinion, has just been phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Martin Kroenke, the closest anybody really got to him on the same strategy was on the start of the race. After the start of the race, Hugo Louise just said goodbye to the field, drove the 71 laps, and just eked out a lead that grew and grew and grew and grew. And wow, what a race!
We are going to have a quick chat as well with Alex Simpson from the Apex Racing stable. Now, Alex, you were able to get yourself here, when all was said and done, a 10th place finish in that number 35 car. You had your teammate Isaac Price right behind you. You gained a net of 3 places in this race. Overall, you've got to say, a good day's work.
Yeah, pretty happy with that. Interlagos, not one of my favourite tracks, so I was more concerned about qualifying than anything. So potentially 10th or 11th, whatever it might end up being, I'm delighted.
And I mean, it was a crazy start for the race where you were drivers, especially in that first 5-6 laps, running 2, 3, even 4 wide at one point. Just how crazy was it on the racetrack?
Yeah, that was mental. Those first few laps. I mean, we were. I think there's a bunch of 2-stoppers all tucked up behind Udai, and we're all tussling for place amongst ourselves to try and get the jump on him. And I'm sure Udai was loving it because we were all battling ourselves and not worrying about him. So it was good fun though. I enjoyed it a lot.
Enjoyed it, and your teammate behind you, Isaac Price, and of course I can talk to you as well a little bit as team principal. And you had yourself a good.
Sorry, he's not in my team. I better stop you.
I'll stop that. I'll completely stop that. But we'll talk about next week then at Suzuka, 2 weeks time actually, the third round of the championship, going to another very different racetrack. But this one is all really about how you can get that grip to work aerodynamically and mechanically.
Yeah, Suzuka is my kind of track. I much prefer the fast flowing ones. Good change of direction. To struggle quite a bit with the tracks that require good slow speed rotation and grip. It's just something I need to work on myself with my setups and that. But I think we're going in the right direction. I was pretty happy with qualifying today, and I look forward to Suzuka. I think we could be up for another possible top 10.
Another possible top 10 there for Alex Simpson in that number 35 Apex Racing machine. And another one of those drivers, Aaron, who we didn't really talk too much about, but has been able to find themselves in a top 10 finish, really, just by keeping their front wing clean.
Yeah, it seemed you either wanted to be mentioned for leading, or it seemed a lot of drivers we mentioned were for contact or fierce battles that involved broken wings. So sometimes you want to not be in the limelight. You just want to run your race, methodically work through, pick off people, gain positions through pit strategy. And sometimes you don't want to be the drivers being mentioned that, we're going 3 wide. So great methodical run. Sometimes that's what it takes.
We've got ourselves a couple more people to talk to. We'll start by talking to Ollie Picard. Ollie, tough day for you.
Yeah, tell me about it. I was happy about the race pace. I felt my qualification because there's always pressure and you make mistakes. But I didn't know really what happened. We had a glitch with Gregor and some third guy was involved and the server glitched and the server didn't count our lap. But I thought that officials gonna move me back to where I belong, was I P4 at the moment or P3. And I just drove my race like I would have been in the P3, but then I heard that I was still on P20, so I started at the a really good rush, overtook a lot of people and tried to gain more positions. But yeah, that's how this ends up.
It was a tough second part of the race for you because, of course, you were classified as lap traffic, and we saw some very close near misses of you in that latter stage of the race. But able to get yourself back up into P19, so I'm guessing it's not the end of the world for you. But again, Glacier Racing has shown some very good pace in the race. But in qualifying, both yourself and Alexei Yusiakoda did have some big issues.
Yeah, we have noticed that, and I think it's probably because we are lacking some experience comparing to Huttu or Luis or other old guys in the series. So we're trying to get it better. Next track is Suzuka. It's one of our favorites, and yeah, we need to work on the qualifying. That pressure what comes in the qualifying, and especially the starts are a bit struggle for me. But when we get the qualifying and starts okay, I think we're gonna be much more closer to the red line and my 3 ID.
So one great race at Spa, one not so great race here at Interlagos. What are you looking for at Suzuka in 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I think like in Interlagos and Spa, we are going to challenge the my 3 ID Motorsport and red line. Like we have kind of challenge these last 2 races, so I'm looking forward to it, and I'm starting practice already tomorrow and trying to be more prepared than ever, because it's getting tougher when you get the drop week due to that glitch.
Oliver Piccola, only P19 for him today. And Aaron is stood by with Marcus Caton.
Marcus Caton, wow, what a race. Early on in the race, it was fierce battling. Were you any part of the just fantastic racing we saw off the start?
Yeah, that was the case. I decided to go with a 2-stop strategy no matter what. I ran a 1-stop last season and it didn't work out for me, so I screw it, I'm going to run it, even though I was at the back of the field. And, I just had to pass a lot of people and I just went for it. Things were going well throughout the race. Towards the end, I had an incident with Mancusi, which was 100% my fault. I didn't leave enough room. It was in my blind spot, so I misjudged it. It was my one major mistake of the race. Lost like 10 seconds on my strategy, which didn't help me jump some of the guys ahead. So.
And you mentioned last season the strategy didn't work. Thinking back, would you start this race with the same strategy you started with today?
Of course, so they've probably been a bit more aggressive and stuck it up the inside a few times. But it was working out very well. I was surprised I was able to get up to a lot of people who were much further ahead on 1-stop sooner than later. If I had passed them a little bit earlier, I would have been able to make up the time. So it seems 2-stop might become the standard strategy going forward for the rest of the season.
And again, the racing, very close, lots of passing. Was it start of the race, middle half, very close racing? Was that an enjoyable race in terms of just how fierce the competition was here today?
Sliding sideways while side by side with somebody is not the most enjoyable situation, but it was a fantastic race. I have to say that, even though with my mistake with Mancusi, I can't talk it down at all. I finished in 21st, but after the poop shoot that was Spa, it's still a good result, and I'm just looking forward to pushing more at Suzuka.
And speaking of Suzuka, looking forward to that in 2 weeks' time?
Of course. I mean, it's my chance to push a bit more and show the pace we have, because I wasn't able to do that in qualifying, and that really affects what race you can run, how far up the grid you can qualify. But the pace is there. From like 5th all the way back, everyone is very close on the pace. It's just a matter of what lap they get in qualifying.
Well, Marcus Caton, looking forward to next week, 21st, but wow, involved in many of our close battles here today.
Indeed, he was.
It's Caton, by the way.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Finally, we're going to have a quick chat with Martin Kroenke, who came home in the 2nd position in the number 5 3 ID Motorsports car. Martin, you get a new sponsor, you go and get yourself P1 and 2 in the race. You've got to be happy with your overall result, and also that of your teammates, Hugo Luis.
Hello. Obviously, yes, we are very happy with the result. Went pretty much flawless, except for my spin in the first couple of laps. But luckily, that didn't really matter much in the end.
Now, down into turn 1 on the first lap of the race, it did look as though that you had a gap to go down to the inside of Hugo Luis into turn 1, but was that a thing of you decided just not to force the issue? Because it was very close between you those first couple of corners.
Yeah, I didn't really try to overtake him. I was surprised myself that I got a pretty decent launch compared to him, and gained a couple of meters on the way to turn 1, but I actually didn't really plan to overtake him. And I tried to leave enough space and let him go. I didn't want to force an issue there, like it happened in Watkins Glen last year, or in Sebring last year.
And then take us through that spin that happened, that half spin that happened down on the back end of the racetrack. It did look as though you just perhaps caught a white line.
Yeah, actually that is exactly the reason why I spun. I just hit the grass with the left rear tire slightly under braking, and I just couldn't do anything anymore. Just hope that I don't really hit anything and go on. Luckily I didn't hit anything, so it didn't really make much of a difference for the rest of the race.
Now, you guys want a two-stop strategy, pitting pretty much exactly at 1/3 race distance, 2/3 race distance. Did you think that overall the two-stop was going to be faster for you, or was that a choice that you made after qualifying once you figured out where your position on the starting grid was?
Well, we planned with a two-stop, actually, because we were pretty sure that it is faster. We just weren't sure whether we were going to do it depending on the qualifying position. If I maybe qualified in 20th position or 15th or 13th like I did last time in Spa, I probably would have gone for a one-stop strategy. But when you're in the front row, no one is going to hold you up during the first stint, so a two-stop would have been better.
And now, in 2 weeks' time, we head over to Suzuka Circuit, and it always seemed to be at the start of seasons, you and Redline seem to be trading blows. And what do you think your chances are when we go to Suzuka in 2 weeks' time? Can you make it back-to-back victories for 3ID Motorsports, or do you think that the challenge is going to be really big next time out?
I honestly don't know. Obviously, the challenge is always pretty big because it's Team Redline. They are very, very good. And you can never be sure that we're quicker than them. So, yeah, we just got to see.
2 weeks' time, we'll see, with Martin Kroenke coming home in the second position, his teammate Hugo Luis coming home with the race victory, and of course a new sponsor to boot with Faraja, and them getting a 1-2 of their first sponsor. Aaron, you've got to say, new sponsor, 1-2 finish, good result.
Good result, perfect result, you could say. You can't hope for anything more, and not only a 1-2 finish, but a 1-2 finish in absolute dominant fashion. So add that to the list of good introductions, I guess you could say.
And final thoughts in this race. It's been crazy, but once again, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series does show strength in numbers, a depth of competition, because we've seen battles up and down the field, all the way from qualifying. I mean, you had, 1/10 of a second separating 8 drivers, and then in the race, really close racing.
Oh, the starting grid was separated less than a second, I think. So the depth, the closeness, we saw some of the fiercest, I think fiercest is about the best word to describe the racing we saw in the first 10 laps. Saw split strategies. We saw just about everything this race, Will, and some just incredible passing. Oh, wow, just absolute, what a race. What a race indeed.
And with that, it is time to wrap up our coverage of the 2014 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series event from Interlagos Circuit. Hugo Luis claiming victory by almost 5 seconds over Martin Kroenke. A dominant display by the 3ID Motorsports drivers. We had a total of 6 lead changes here today, and the first lap of the race, well, that went to Hugo Luis in a time of 1 minute 10.66 seconds. The next round of the NASCAR Peak Anti-Freeze Series takes place on March 25th at Auto Club Speedway. 125 laps around the 2-mile oval. That'll be live on PSR TV and the Motor Racing Network, as well as iRacing Live. The next round of the 2014 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series will be on March 29th. Start time for that will be 2 p.m. GMT here on RaceSpot TV. And don't forget, the WCS Spotlight Show will be immediately presiding that at 1 p.m. GMT. And that will also be on iRacing Live. Myself, Will Vincent, and from Aaron Likens, Raphael Sank on cameras, very good afternoon to you, and also congratulations to PSR TV commentator Chris Hall getting married today. Congratulations to him. Also, congratulations to Hugo Louise. What a victory here today.